What would it be like to live in a world where evil reigns, corruption spreads without limits, and violence becomes humanity's common language? What would happen if God, the creator of all things, looked upon his creation and felt sorrow in his heart? Was the destruction of the ancient world by the flood an act of cruelty or justice? On this journey through the scriptures, we will uncover what was truly happening on earth before the great judgment of the waters. Who were the inhabitants of that time? What led God to decree the destruction of nearly all of humanity? Prepare yourself to discover the secrets of a dark age, an era in which moral and spiritual decay reached its limit. The corruption of humanity. The Bible gives us unsettling clues about this dark time. In Genesis 6 verses 5 to 6 we read, "The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled." Imagine a world where every thought, every intention, and every action was directed toward evil, where goodness was an exception and justice a forgotten memory. The earth had become a stage for uncontrolled depravity, where violence was not only common but had become the very law governing human relationships. The strong oppressed the weak, and morality had been completely shattered. The concept of right and wrong had been distorted to the point where sin was celebrated, and the fear of God had completely vanished. The biblical accounts lead us to picture cities filled with cruelty, streets dominated by crime and injustice. Murders, theft, abuse, and all kinds of immorality were part of everyday life. Respect for human life had disappeared, and unchecked ambition led people to destroy one another. Alliances were broken, families were torn apart, and lawlessness grew without restraint. But the corruption was not only moral and social, it also affected humanity's relationship with God. The Creator, who had given mankind the gift of life and the opportunity to walk by his side, now saw his creation completely turned away from him. Idolatry spread, leading people to worship false gods, engage in profane rituals, and immerse themselves in spiritual degradation. Humanity rejected its Creator and sank deeper and deeper into a spiral of darkness. Wickedness had become so intense, and the contamination so profound, that God made a drastic decision. "I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them." Genesis 6 verse 13. Judgment was inevitable. Humanity was so lost that only a complete purification could restore what had been corrupted. The sons of God and the Nephilim. One of the most intriguing aspects of this period is the mention of the sons of God and the giants in Genesis 6 verses 1 to 4. What do these words truly mean? Throughout history, theologians and scholars have presented different interpretations. One of the most striking suggests that the sons of God were, in fact, fallen angels who, in rebellion against God, took human wives for themselves. From this profane union came the Nephilim, a race of giant beings, possibly endowed with extraordinary abilities, who further corrupted humanity. The Nephilim are described as powerful warriors, violent and thirsty for destruction. Their presence may have spread even more violence across the earth, making the world unsustainable. They could have been tyrannical rulers who subjugated entire nations, spreading chaos and fear. Extra-biblical accounts, such as those found in the Book of Enoch, suggest that these beings taught humans forbidden practices, such as witchcraft, astrology, and metallurgy for warfare, accelerating the spiritual and moral degradation of humanity. Other scholars argue that the sons of God might have been descendants of the righteous line of Seth, who intermarried with the corrupt lineage of Cain, resulting in a morally degraded society. However, regardless of the interpretation, the result was a world dominated by sin, where justice and holiness were completely erased. The presence of the Nephilim was so disturbing that, according to the Bible, God decided to intervene drastically. The flood was not only an act of judgment but also of purification, eradicating this corrupted lineage and restoring humanity through Noah and his family. Idolatry and sorcery. The pre-flood civilization was deeply immersed in idolatry and occult practices. Men turned away from God and began to worship false gods, believing they could gain forbidden power and knowledge. Contact with fallen spiritual beings spread witchcraft, necromancy, and dark rituals, leading humanity to ruin. The occult became part of everyday life, distorting the truth and enslaving hearts. Man, obsessed with power, sold his soul in exchange for secrets that only deepened his corruption. This separation from God led to complete moral degradation, making his judgment inevitable. Lost technology? There are theories suggesting that the world before the flood possessed astonishing scientific and technological advancements, far beyond what we can imagine. Ancient accounts indicate that the sons of God may have introduced forbidden knowledge to humanity, teaching everything from astrology to metallurgy for destructive purposes. Megalithic monuments, inexplicable artifacts, and traditions from ancient civilizations all point to a past full of mysteries. This wisdom, which could have been used for good, was corrupted by human pride and ambition. Men sought to equate themselves with God, challenging his authority and crossing spiritual boundaries. Some believe this knowledge was so dangerous that God had to intervene drastically, wiping out this civilization and its entire legacy through the flood. But did something survive? Are we, even today, rediscovering this lost knowledge? Noah, the light in the darkness. In the midst of a world engulfed in corruption and wickedness, Noah stood out as a righteous and blameless man. While everyone around him lived in disobedience to God, he remained faithful. The Bible tells us, "But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord." Genesis 6 verse 8. A powerful testimony that faithfulness can shine even in the darkest of days. Noah's mission was monumental. God commanded him to build a massive ark, a refuge to save his family and preserve creation. Imagine the challenge, constructing a gigantic boat on dry land with no sign of rain, all while facing the scorn of a corrupted society. Noah's faith was tested daily. 4 years he worked tirelessly, cutting wood, securing planks, and obeying every detail of God's instructions. While Noah and his family were dedicated to building the ark, humanity continued its path of rebellion. People mocked him, doubted him, and dismissed the warning that divine judgment was near. Noah was not only constructing the ark, he was also preaching righteousness, warning of the impending catastrophe. But no one listened. When the rain began to fall and the fountains of the deep burst open, it was already too late. The world that rejected God was swallowed by chaos, and only Noah and his family were saved. His story teaches us that regardless of the circumstances, those who trust in the Lord will find refuge and protection. The ark symbolizes the salvation that God offers to those who choose to walk with him. The story of the flood is not just about destruction. It is about a God who loves justice and seeks to restore his creation. Humanity had strayed so far that a complete reset was necessary. Noah and his family represent the hope, grace, and faithfulness of God toward those who choose to follow him. Now look around at the world we live in. Do you believe we are experiencing times similar to the days of Noah? Has corruption, violence, and the rejection of God intensified? If judgment came today, where would you stand? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. If you want to continue exploring the mysteries of the Bible and understand how these ancient truths apply to our time, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with others. Let's spread God's word together and bring light to these dark times. May God be with you, and see you in the next video.